All right, welcome everyone. My name is Andrew, and today I'll be presenting how to configure and edit Dataviews for the WhatNet suite. We have a large group, so please remain muted. I'll hold a Q&A at the end of the presentation, so you can ask your questions. To avoid talking over one another, please use the chat function. I will read off questions or unmute and call on you as they are asked. Thank you. So before we start today, I just want to talk a little bit about the data view in our WhatNet suite. For WhatNet Basic, you will have a default data view, so you won't be able to edit it. This functionality that I'm presenting for you is editable in Express, Limited, and Plus. So let's go ahead and start this up. Our data fields dictate what data can be tracked, queried, modified, imported, and exported. So to sum that up, essentially our data view dictates what data your utility will retain and use within your workspace. It's an integral part of improving the workflow and accuracy for your utilities. Basically, when you create a data view, you can use that, and then if you want to, you can export and import that into your entire workspace that are testing the same types of meters. So as you can see here today, I just navigated initially to our admin console here. And as for data view layouts, we have several different options. We have meter data view layout, CT data view layout, PT data view layout, edit standards, and edit transducer data view layout. For today's webinar, I'm going to show you how to edit your meter data view layout. And upon opening that, you see several controls here. We have the back button, which is self-explanatory. You just go back. We have add here, which today we're going to be using our default layout, but if you want to create an entirely new layout, you can do so by clicking that add button, and it'll give you a fresh slate to start with. So if you wanted to, you could just, layout one and then save that and create an entirely new one. But today we will be using our default layout. And then you also have delete to delete your layout. You kind of have to be careful with that one. As well as our save button, just click that to save. You can also print your data view after you've made it, and if you need to present it to somebody, you can print that example out. And we also have our import and export buttons. These come in handy. As I was talking about before, if you need to import a data view layout that a coworker may have and you want to use that one, you would do so through here. And then you also can export yours, which saves it to a file, which you would then, you could use that as a backup. If you needed to come back from a previous state, you would import the export that you had saved, and that will bring your data view layout back. So let's start with our view here. This is what it will look like as a default layout. Pretty much all the same controls up here as our mapped layout. But as you notice, when I press F9, it switches between the mapped layout and the graphical layout. So they're both connected. What you do here on the mapped layout impacts what you do here, what you see here on the graphical interface. So somewhat of a new feature we have over here that you'll see is our add new feature, which allows you to add a label here in the graphical layout without having to go back behind on your mapped layout and add it through there. So for example, today we'll just add a class here. That'll be our label. And we will rearrange that a little bit. We'll leave that there for now. And then you can add your field. Just name that class as well. As you can see on the graphical portion of the layout, you can drag and drop as you see fit. You can also resize these boxes as you see fit. So that's a fairly a good addition to this WhatNet Express data view layout here is this addition to being able to do that within your graphical layout. So now we can go back behind to our mapped view and take a look at the fields we just created. As you can see here, this is the label we created for our class, and this is our data column for our class. Now for each data view layout, you will need a primary key for the layout for it to function correctly. Here in our default view, we have equipment number as our primary key, and as you can see in the description here, it's just our meter number basically for our test board. So I'm going to run through these data columns for you. Now we have, as you can see, you have a drop down here, and label and data columns are going to be the two main ones you're going to pick to set up your data view. We'll also go through a little later and look at images and that sort of thing. But for now, to set up a field here for your data column, you will have to select either T-equip meter or T-meter test results. Your T-equip meter is going to be what is tied to your actual equipment, your test board. So as you can see up here, you know, this is going to be stuff that's going to be tied to your test board and it's going to stick around on your test screen. You have your tester ID, test volts, test amps, all that type of stuff. Your T-meter test results is going to be, for the most part, self-generated fields, things you feel you need to add that might not be tied to your equipment. It could be a user ID or something of the sort, but you have different options here to do that as well. So we will create our T-equip meter, and you can see that we have it set to class. So we will just go in here, and we can see that there's already a field here for meter class. So we can select that. And now your label text description, you can pretty much name that whatever you want. For today's session, I'm just going to leave it as class. And then now your X and Y coordinates, that's where your field is going to be positioned on the mapped view. So something that I've found that's good to do is to basically base new fields off of your location from your default view, the things that were already defaulted in here. So as you can see, my class is already at 130, so it's pretty in line there. As you can see from all the other labels here, they're at 1, so I'll just change my label to 1 for our X coordinate, and we can change our class, meter class field here to 150 just to center it up. And we're going to go change this to 24 as well. So as you can see above here, your other T-equip classes, they are 24, so I'm going to just stay in line with those. Our other label classes here are at 20, so I'm going to change my label to 20 as well. And all these controls just function the size of the box. They change the size of the box. So you see 20 here. If I go to my graphical interface and change the size of my box here, it's going to change the size of it back here in the mapped portion as well. So I can just change that width back to, say, 125. And I'm going to change my label back to 120. change my height back to, well, it's actually at 24, so we'll keep that there. And then we'll change this label back to 20. Now, as you scroll further on this mapped view here, you see we have several other options to change how you want your data view to look. For the labels, you'll notice that most of the other labels here are mapped to the right. And you can change that with this selection here, font properties. You can change your font family, you can change your text size, you can change your alignment. For today's presentation, we're just going to center that to the right for our label, and our other T-equip fields here, they're already aligned to the left, so we're just going to leave that one aligned to the left. And as you scroll over, you will see drop-down data. A good example for your drop-down data is these boxes here. You will see you can actually create these boxes and decide what type of data you want in those boxes. So I'll show a little example of how to do that today. We'll just go ahead and save this. And all we need to do is go back. And in your admin console here, you'll see validation settings. Click that. Click Edit Dropdown Data. And you'll have to click equipment type. For today, I'm just going to select no filter. And I have my class already in here. Just for the sake of adding more data to it, I'm going to add another code here. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to add a number here. So it'll stay in here. You just add your code and your description. And then you can select your equipment type, electric meter. Save that. Go back to our data view here. And go back to the drop-down data name. And we just select that field that the drop-down that we had just made, which is named class. So if we go back to our menu here, graphical view, we see that our drop-down menu is here and active. Fairly simple for that. And then now we have our display. Now, if you remember when I was creating the data view, there was code and then value in the description. This interface here lets you select what you would like to display first in that drop-down. So your code value here would basically jump to the front if you selected that to appear first, versus if you displayed your description first, then that would appear first in your drop-downs. So we'll leave that blank for now. Our drop-down data style, you can allow for manual entry for your employees if you would like, which basically just means that they can type in what they would like to select. It might make their jobs a little easier if they can just type in the first few numbers of their ID and, it automatically populates if you have multiple users using that test station. And then you can also select drop-down style only, where basically you can't enter anything, you just select it through the drop-down menu. So we'll leave that there for now. And then now we are to our images, which is, you actually have to add an image, you actually have to add another field here. And if you remember from before, when I open up this menu, we have labels, data columns, and images. Images is just basically if you want to, say, put your company's logo on your data view. You can easily do that. You select image there, and then you go over here to image, browse for your image. I have one saved in here. Load that up. Go back to our graphical view here. And set that. Okay. And you can also change whether or not you would like this to be visible or not. So say you have some fields in your graphical view that you don't want to display, but you want to keep them in your map field in case you want to use them later on. All you do here is select visible, uncheck that box, and as you can see, our class option is no longer visible here. So if you wanted to take out a whole row here, you could do that and then come back later and just add it, make it visible again, and add that back to your test view. You can make a text option read-only, which means that you can't change that. You can't change that text for that box. Basically, if you want a field to have the same type of the same letter wording that you created this with, and you don't want anybody to change it, you can select that option as well. Now, is required here. Basically, what that means is if you have this selected and you don't, if you want somebody to have to put in some sort of data, that will make it to where they have to put in data before the test will save. So you can select that option if you have a specific employee that you want for that test station or something of the sort, and you don't want them changing their ID or anything like something similar to that. And then required on create, this will give you the option to warn the user that you can select it to either warn them or require certain text to be in a box before he can run that or create that, sorry. You can also set parameters for minimum length of text you want allowed in that box, or you can set a max length. If you have a specific number of letters you want for a specific field, you can set that. You can also decide which type of characters you want for that field. Alpha only, any, or decimal or integer. Most of the time you'll probably select any just so you can use text, but you can change that to just integers or just text. You also have settings here which retain from previous equipment. You can retain certain identified factors from a previous test board that you had. If you would like to, you can check that and add that in there. And you also have the option to clear data from retrieval here. So after that test, you can click this and it will automatically clear that out for you. Or you can set an initial value to where that test will start with that value. And as for your justification, that you have the option to change the centering, change it to the left or the right for that box. And that pretty much covers the data view here. I am now going to be open for questions. To avoid talking over one another, please use the chat function. I can read off questions or unmute and call on you. The code control, that's more of a, I guess, a technical field. Jill, can you help explain that to him a little more?
Okay, am I off now? Can y'all hear me? Code control is a field that you can set that will allow that field to be populated based on another field's data. For example, if you use a barcode scanner, you can set up a code control field for your class to for a 1N meter, you can assign it to have a class of 200, just based on the fact that the lookup code is 1N. You can do based on any of those fields. You can define another field to populate the data. We can go through some specifics with you, Jay, if you'd like. Did that give you an idea of what you're looking for? Awesome, thanks.
Can a Dropdown Boxes data source be from a database table or, can a Dropdown Boxes data source be from a database table outside the WATnet database? As far as I know, I would have to say a no to that. I have a Radian mobile tester, so the layout has to match on my desktop station and my mobile unit, correct? If I add a field for something on my desktop, well, I also have to add it to my mobile tester, correct, for WATnet sync. Jill, do you mind stepping in and?
Sure. Yes, Jacob, if you do have a field test unit, the layout doesn't have to precisely match, but you do want to have the field on the field test unit so it can be tracked and entered, and then when you sync, it would then go over to the corresponding field in WATnet Express. Again, in BASIC, there is not a editable feature, so if you add something to your field test unit that is not in WATnet BASIC as the default, then it would not come over unless you did either Express or did a Dataview setup service where we could do editing with you. Did that answer your question? I also wanted to kind of touch back and expand on William Tang's email. Can a Dropdown Boxes data source be from a database table outside the WATnet database? No, you cannot. It needs to be built inside the validation tables.
Are we able to export this data view to a tester with Winboard embedded? Jill.
Sorry about that. To create the same layout in Winboard Embedded at this time, it needs to be one of two things. You can originally do a data view sync, but if you do have data in those tables on your Winboard Embedded, it's a little trickier. We do have a video that we can provide you with if needed, but yes, you can do a data view sync, but you don't want to do it automatically if there is already data on your Winboard Embedded. And Kyle, we can send that to you if you're interested, and it kind of goes into a little more detail on that.
Yeah, I'll write down, make sure I take note of your name, Kyle, and if you want to reach out, we can email that to you. Great. All right, anyone else? Wait about 10 seconds to see if anybody else has any questions here. Sonia, we use a custom test form that is also used by our sister companies. Would we have to build our form from scratch, or could we import our existing form? If you guys are both using this WhatNet Express or Plus or Limited, you should be able to import your data view just directly to them. You shouldn't have to start from scratch. Now, Jill, if you can comment a little bit, I'm not sure if they had different versions, if that would impact anything.
Yeah, Sonia, can I expand on this a little bit? I'm assuming that you mean when you say a test form, we're talking about a data view and not a meter form. Yes, if you are using WhatNet Express, Limited, or Plus, you can export your data view from one of your other sister company PCs and import it into your PC. And as Andrew said, as long as you guys are running the same software and versioning, if you're trying to import an older version of DataView into a newer version of software or vice versa, there could be some issues. If you have that come up and you have some issues, please reach out to us and let us know, and we can absolutely work with you on guiding further.
All right. Anybody have any other questions? As I said, we'll have our information at the end of this, so if anybody has any other questions that we may not have addressed, or new questions you've thought of. I'll go ahead and present that now, as long as nobody else has any questions. I want to thank you guys. Just a second here. All right, thank you guys for watching this webinar today. As you can see on the screen here, you can contact us via our email, technicalsupport@radianresearch.com, or our phone number. Feel free to call us at 765-449-5576. And our website also has several great resources as well. We have a forum on there, and I'm sure some of these videos will end up on there eventually. But if you have any other questions, please reach out. We enjoy being your solutions partner and look forward to working with you. Thank you again, and I hope you guys have a great day and see you at the next presentation. Thank you.